So guys, this season has just been so good and it continues to be good, and this week's episode I thought was awesome. Once again, thumbs up if you agree with me. And a lot happened. Like, I feel like more happened in this week's and last week's episode than in all the rest of the episodes of this season. So Rachel has been moved by Susan, and there's also the little clone there. I've forgotten her name, but I'll remember it here in a second. And of course the caster clone. They are all in this like beautiful mansion. Apparently it's on an island somewhere. They weren't really specific. But Rachel kind of feels like it's a prison, and she's still having a lot of difficulties in the beginning of the episode, like trouble walking and trouble speaking. So I'm not really sure what her future holds. Everyone is having a super hard time dealing with Kendall's death, which is totally understandable. Everyone's kind of completely losing their minds over it. Especially Sarah, who left and is on like an alcohol bender, and she's just going completely insane. So Mrs. S meets with Art, and she's like describing the person who killed Kendall, and he knows like right away it's this Martin guy who is the mole. He plays a big role in this episode, and thankfully he does something to get some revenge a little bit later. So we learn a little bit more about Evie Cho in this episode. She has shingles, which is a result of some sort of immune disorder that she has. And I'm not really sure if that plays into her motive of wanting to get rid of all of the clones, but she's still being her evil self. And I guess she's been living with some sort of disease like her entire life. So like I was saying about Art, he has like this fake meeting call between him and Martin. Martin thinks it's going to be like someone else, and he like beats him up and he confronts him. But Martin's like, hey, not so fast, because, you know, you shouldn't be too tied into them, because we know that, you know, Allison and Donnie were dealing drugs, and there's just all kinds of problems that's going to come back on you if you don't back off, because they're looking at you too. So Charlotte is the little clone's name, and she's still very sick, and Rachel's finally up front with her, and she's like, you're a big girl, and I want you to know that you've been coughing up blood and everything because you are essentially dying, which is just hard for anyone to hear, especially a child. But she doesn't really seem that concerned. Like, she doesn't really believe it. So Sarah is off like drinking. She's trying to hook up with that guy who is a friend to MK, and she keeps seeing visions of Beth. The really crazy scene in this episode was at Donnie and Allison's house, because they were having a slumber party for their little girl, and the police like show up and they like make a huge scene, and they arrest Donnie for drug trafficking, and it's the mole guy Martin who's a part of this. So I feel like he's kind of getting back at Art by performing this like whatever you call it raid on their house. So Kira is displaying some really interesting traits, and I really kind of think that she has psychic powers. What do you guys think? Thumbs up if you agree with that, and if not, tell me what you think her deal is, because she tells Mrs. S she feels like her mom is like following Beth, which is exactly what is going on. COSIMA is really trying to self-destruct, and she's trying to insert one of those worms in her cheek because she feels very guilty about Kendall's death. But the crazy thing is that Felix is able to stop her, because he talks to her on the phone just in time to tell her that Crystal saw someone pick up Delphine, and that's kind of what I've been saying all along. I think she's alive, and I think this pretty much confirms it, which I think is really good news, unless we find out she's the mastermind behind all of this, which would be really terrible. But at the same time, he's got to go track down Sarah, and he finds her. She's been talking to an image of Beth. She's about ready to like jump off a bridge. She's like losing her mind completely, and he talks some sense into her, and you know, she doesn't end up doing that, thankfully. So Mika is trying to correspond with Kira online, which I really don't know what's up with that, but I guess she knows she has some kind of special talents or special powers. And at the end of the episode, we see that Rachel's like, her brain is just not working correctly, and she sees like a swan, and she's just seeing things that she shouldn't be seeing. So I don't know if that means she's not going to be around much longer or what. But overall, I thought it was a really good episode, and for you guys who can watch After the Black, it was awesome because Felix was on. Felix is actually not British, so it's just funny to hear him talk with his American-sounding voice. But one of the things that he said that I thought was really interesting is that even though we know who a couple of the villains are so far and in the entire series, and we've known a couple others, we really don't know who the mastermind is behind all of this, and I don't know if that's going to be someone we know. I don't know if Delphine's a part of that. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, like who is pulling the strings. Basically, the puppet master is what he referred to them as, because there's someone bigger than Evie Cho. I mean, I think at one one time we thought it was Dr. Leaky, but it's still going on, so it's not him. Maybe someone took over for him. But I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And just to let you know, if you just stumbled across this video, I am covering all of Season 4 of Orphan Black, and I'm getting ready to start covering Season 2 of Scream 2, which premieres next Tuesday, I believe. So if you are a fan of these types of mystery or science fiction shows, please subscribe, please like this video if you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you soon. So have a great evening, afternoon, or morning, and I will see you next time.